Hello everyone, this is the fourth video of chapter 10 lecture about taboo recreation. We're going to finish off the examples of taboo recreation. We're going to move on to the explanations of it. So the last category of the taboo recreation we want to talk about is violence in sports. You know it happens, right? But there are different categories, different types of violence in sports, and I want to clarify what we're talking about here. We're not talking about what is called instrumental aggression, like non-emotional task-oriented violence, such as, for example, in rugby, in football, we do tackle, right? It's a violent, aggressive, right? But most of the time, it's for the sake of that's the activity. That's what we have to do to win. It's instrumental. It's purposeful. It's often not necessarily emotional. What we are talking about is what's called reactive aggression. It's the emotional response in violence with harm as its goal. And the chapter talk about soccer as example. And in the history of soccer, there's this iconic reactive aggression. I think it was 22 in a World Cup, co-hosted by South Korea and Japan. There are many good, countries usually, and France is one of them. Back in the time, there's this player called Zidane. He was great. He's one of the best soccer player in history still. And France was predicted to potentially win the World Cup with one of the most likely team. Now in one of the games, I think it was against Italy, I think it was not mistaken, he was insulted. It was not him insulted. There's a trash talk happens, but one of the players talked about Zidane's, I think, mother and the sister, and that caused a strong emotional response from Zidane, and basically he headbutt the player. Zidane got red card out of the game. I think France lost that game. They did not get a championship in that competition. So that's, of course, has nothing to do with the game of the soccer itself. I mean, we don't headbutt each other in a soccer. And of course, instrumentally and tactically, it doesn't make sense. I mean, Zidane was the center of this team, and losing him with the potential red card doesn't help them at all. We know that. However, he cannot control. I mean, it's a really bad type of trash talk. So there's definitely reasons behind it. However, that's the kind of violence we're talking about here. Sometimes. And there's no moving. There you go. Now the question is, why there is a violence in sports? And we keep having it, right? Even though sometimes we change the rules, we talk about it, the media talk about it, but it keeps happening. There are a few reasons, many reasons actually, possibly, and some of them are studied by researchers. One of them is this violence as entertainment. It does add drama to it. I mean, France was projected to win potentially. It was at least one of the really good candidates, but it was a drama, and the entire event arguably destroy that chance, right? When I first time watched hockey, well, actually second time I watched that in the United States, but when I came to Yobe and first year students, if you have one card, you can actually watch conference game of the Golden Bears and Panthers hockey, which I really enjoyed when I was a grad student. So I encourage you to do that after COVID-19, free, except for the final, playoffs. And when I didn't know the sports much, right, ice hockey, what I really enjoyed was the fight. And I was so puzzled at the beginning because, two players got into the fight and just grab each other, started to punch each other. And the referees, they kind of hang around and they didn't stop until the, players kind of collapse onto the ice. So that was really, really excited about that. And I have to say that was entertainment when I didn't really know the game, to be honest. No, but we know that it's a reactive aggression too, because when you do that, oftentimes you get penalty, you get into that little penalty box, and that's disadvantage, really, right? Another explanation is this sense of catharsis. Watching others being aggressive helps people vicariously release their negative pent-up emotions. Vicarious means let other people do it for yourself, right? Going back to the hockey example, maybe you feel like something negative happened and you're stressed out and you kind of feel like you want to punch someone in the face. You can't do that. But by watching them do it in this context that's permitted, right? I mean, you can get penalized, but you can still do it. You don't necessarily go to jail for it. Vicariously, you can let that frustration go away. Cathartic experience. Maybe that's why. Now we get to the really important part, the last components of this chapter about explanations and theories of taboo recreation. Really, the question here is, why do we, and by we, I mean a lot of people actually in a society, if not everybody, engage in a taboo or deviant leisure one way or another? Why? There are many explanations. One of them is called anomie. It's a sociological theory. Basically, it's about normlessness or chaos. Chaos happen and deviant taboo behavior happen. Okay. A good example, although it's not real, is the movie and TV series called Purge. Have you watched that? Did you? Okay. I can't really watch that a lot.